All right, hi guys. Welcome to a pretty much a masterclass in how to get files from something like Rhino here into Twinmotion. I'll have another video on using the plugin for Twinmotion later on. But yeah, so this is going to be moving in the right direction. So as you can see here, we have this Rhino file, which was pretty much set up inside of Rhino with the trees imported in. I mean, as you can see, it's fairly good. If we can turn on the... So you have a kind of pretty scene here like this. This is from an exhibit I was doing. And so, but what we're going to do is we're going to beef this up. We're going to remove these trees out. And I'm going to teach you how to import this into Twinmotion to get a little cleaner result. Anyhow, so the one thing you need to know is that everything needs to be at 0, 0. Unfortunately, there's no ability for it to lock in spaces. Are you changing the GUI, the XYZ axis component inside Twinmotion? Maybe that's coming in a more of a pro version, but I'm not quite sure. And so you pretty much need to make sure that wherever your object is that you're going to be wanting to be displaying, you need to land that on 0, 0. And something broke. I don't even want to know. So now that is on 0, 0. You can usually tell from the grid plane. It was pretty close if it wasn't exactly on there. Alright, and so we know from the get-go that we're not going to use the trees, we're not going to use the plants. We'll use those as referencing, and even the people. We'll add this all in Twinmotion, and the cars as well. I'm not sure what layer I have that on. Cars, it's layers of cars. Oh, wherever that is. These are all context. Builds, street, and there we go. Alright, everything else we pretty much are going to take in. In the beginning, I'm just going to go ahead and show you, just get right in there and show you what's going on. One thing I would stress is pre-setting up your Rhino file. And what I mean by that is setting materials in connection to them. Granted, you can bring them in objects, but certainly it's much easier. I'm not sure what interactants are. To bring them in and have the colors and distinct colors. It doesn't matter what color it is, as long as there's a kind of relinkage. Now, certainly things with pre-made UVs, like for instance my whale here, he has a pre-made UV to make it be wrapped like that, so that's going to come in separately. Alright, let's just get into it. Let's double check everything has, so we don't want the grid. All these, looks like we pretty much have that all changed out, and I think we're ready to export. So what we're going to do is just going to highlight everything, turn the whale off. We'll definitely do that separately, or any objects that aren't part of the full scene that you can bring in and adjust when you're inside there. Just the context, that's all we're concerned about with right now. So what we'll do is we'll export out. Let me make a new, oh, that's on render play. Let me just go ahead and make a new folder here. As you see, I have the... Alright, here's my new folder. I'm going to call this import, export, or import context. Okay. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to export that as an FBX. It seems to work better that way. Your materials tend to come in better. Not that we really have anything specifically. So we're gonna call this art room test twin motion. All right. So you get this menu. You don't really need to change anything. Yeah, we can talk about Lambert and Fong later, but coming in here, you should know. This setting here, which is mainly for importing, exporting in Cinema 4D, Max, any of the big animation softwares, typically use Y as the vertical axis, and Rhinos use C. This setting is automatic when you come in to Twinmotion, so we don't really need to worry about it. I just keep that right where it is. We're going to export out. You'll get this little pop-up menu. You're going to want, I mean, you can adjust this how you want. You can actually pre-make these in polygons too by using this this button here, convert mesh from polysurface. But I just hit OK. Should be fine. Went fairly quickly. And then we're going to hop into Twinmotion here. We're going to go ahead and hit import, file option. Actually, before we do that, let me just go through a couple things. This is the base kind of place. As you can see, this is just this kind of pre-baked landscape. In here, under this little tab right here that looks like a city, you have these variety of context right here. This is a little iffy. This is basically like HDMIs. They're global wraps around your scene. They're okay. They're not completely necessary. They don't really do terribly much. I usually typically hide them. But, you know, whatever. You can rotate that around. It's a little weird inside here. Like, when you click, you can type, right? Or you can drag the thing up and down like this. Your move buttons is 4, 5, and 6. So 4, 5, 6 instead of ERT, which you're typically used to. That's interesting. This material picker will pick a material, and you can look at it and pops up this menu. Also, going back into here, you can have a little bit of camera align. You can point at something and align it. We won't be using that much. Measuring works fairly well when you have objects inside. This context, I haven't really got it to work very well. I mean, certainly you can attempt to use it. It basically is a promise of a little like the SketchUp thing where you can pull in information from Google Maps. In this case, it's Open Maps, Open Space Maps. I'd stay away from it. I mean, just treat this typically like you would in Keyshot or something like that. And then the file menu up here. Oh. We were going to pause for a minute. Well, that was quite odd. It seemed to be my USB 2 card reader, which I know it's USB 2, was acting up. So we're back in Twinmotion, and I can actually hit File now. So here's your kind of files. If you had a scene before, they're kind of opened up there. And we can go down to Import. we're going to go ahead and go find that folder wherever I put it. Let's, it's in here. We're going to put that over here so I can access it. Okay, so there's our file. We're going to pull in, and we have some options here. We do not want to collapse by material. Keep the hierarchy. You can do this collapse by material. It will speed up your processing, but it has a lot of problems. Here is the axes. Z up, auto conversion. I just keep that activated. You can screw with this later if you'd like to. Anyway, so we'll just import in. And as you can see, it's already coming in oddly. And it looks like it thought this. It looks like I kind of, the flipping and the Y screwed up, and I forgot that I did flip it. So we'll do new scene, and we'll import. So that's exactly what I was talking about with the Y and the Z. As you always know, we'll flip this to Y, make sure that's keep hierarchy, and then we'll see it coming in pretty good. Alright, so it's not here. It's kind of sad that it's not. And it looks like it flipped itself around again. Yeah, let's go back and fix that. Let's just try to export that out. As you can immediately see, we already have some issues with this. And we're going to not flip that. And we're just going to bring it in straight up. Alright, and let's go ahead and delete our scene. As we can see it there, new scene. We'll import it in again. We're going to leave Z up this time. We're going to keep hierarchy. And we're going to go find our file again. Bring it in. And there we go. Out of Rhino. And we have our scene here. Now, this is a little tricky. So middle mouse button moves you around and pans you. Is it control? Oh, control right click will rotate you around. But what you really need to know is this is a lot like a game. So ASWD and the right mouse button is more like what you'll do. So if you've played any kind of first person shooter, this is your bread and butter. Q and E go up and down in elevation. Y, W, A, S, D move you back and forth. And I do believe 1 through 3 are different movements. You see 1 is this. It's a very slow movement. And it moves all those keys very slowly. 2, much faster. Almost double the speed, and 3 is insane. So like, yeah, so if you have a big kind of environment, you're going to be using this a lot more. Alright. So we're going to stick with 2. It seems pretty easy. Alright. So let's just go ahead and start this scene up. First, we can use this little tool with the material picker and pick that material right there. And see, we have this kind of side come up here. And I'm gonna just stop this for a minute and say that this is the first part, and we're going to move to materials in the next section.